Okay.
Okay.
So who would like to kick us off?
So right now I'm just going to talk about Microsoft, our mission, our ambitions. So Microsoft's mission is to really empower every person in every organization on the planet to achieve more. I know it's a pretty huge goal, but Satya is very intentional with saying every planet, and we truly mean that at Microsoft. So at Microsoft, our main mission is mobile first, cloud first, and our strategy is to really build best-in-class platforms and productivity services for a mobile first, cloud first world. And our ambitions are really to reinvent productivity and business processes, build the intelligent cloud platform, and really to create more personal computing.
And yeah, thanks, Erica. And definitely, I think the coolest thing about our ambitions is a couple years ago, our CFO, Amy Hood, decided, instead of reporting out to Wall Street in a ton of different businesses where we were in silos and really competing with one another, we're going to report out through these 3 bold ambitions. So it really encourages us to work as one Microsoft. So I think that with the culture change and with Satya, I think these ambitions are something really cool that our company is doing. And I don't think any other tech company before us had done this kind of report out to Wall Street. So it's really innovative on Microsoft's part.
And I'd like to jump in here too on our worldview when we talk about mobile first and cloud first. We're talking about mobile as a state of being. We're talking about the ability to use multiple devices and have all of your information across all of those devices whenever you need it. And so the cloud really enables that state of being. It's a state of being of mobility. So it's not the actual mobile device. It's how do we become more mobile? How do we become more productive through that mobility?
Awesome. Cool.
So culture is really important here at Microsoft. And in fact, Satya Nadella, our CEO, has been dubbed by some people the culture CEO. And if you look at this quotation on the screen, as a culture, we are moving from a group of people who know it all to a group of people who learn it all. And what's really at the heart of this is we're creating a constant learning culture here at Microsoft. And we're using the growth mindset to really anchor that culture of learning. So if you haven't heard about the growth mindset yet, this is a mindset in which you're constantly learning. You're trying to be better. You're not worried about being the smartest person in the world. You're not worried about taking risks. You're worried about how are you going to learn more? How are you going to achieve more? And so that's really at the heart of the growth mindset and this culture that we're trying to build here at Microsoft. And another aspect of our culture are what we call our cultural attributes. As you can see, that growth mindset that I was just talking about, that's the first one on the left hand of your screen. But in the middle, we have 3 other ones that are really important for us to achieve our bold ambitions and to fulfill our strategy and our mission. Those are being customer obsessed. So this is learning everything you possibly can about your customers in order to create the best products possible. So a great example of this is I have a client, I'm in devices, so my clients are the ones that create all the Surface products, all the cool Surface Studio, like all those really cool devices. And this guy is so customer obsessed that anytime he sees someone in an airport with a Surface product, he goes and he sits down next to him. And he gets the lowdown on what they think of the product. And he wants the good and he wants the bad because he wants to be better. And that's what we're really focused here at Microsoft. And what we're doing should really be focused on making the best experience possible. We're also really focused on diversity and inclusion. And if you think about our mission, we're here to empower every person, organization on the planet to achieve more. And we can only do that if we represent every person, organization on the planet. And so that means we need to be inclusive of different ideas, different people, different geographies. So we're really focused on that diversity and inclusion because that helps us be better and it helps us be more customer obsessed. And as Erica mentioned, one Microsoft is really important to us. We're all going towards one goal. We're all looking to achieve the same strategy and the same mission, and so we should work across boundaries and across organizations to do that. And then finally, if we have a growth mindset of we're customer obsessed, diverse and inclusive, and one Microsoft, we should be making a difference in the world and on our planet.
And I'll just step in there too on that making a difference piece. It really comes down to having purpose in your work and the sense that you can achieve more than just going to do your job every day. And we really believe that giving back is a strong part of our culture as a company. Microsoft has a great philanthropic aspect to our culture. So have that sense of purpose, be willing to give back, and in the end, make a difference.
Totally. All right, so another reason why we would say why you should choose Microsoft is our leadership. We have fantastic leadership here at Microsoft. And just recently, we started to define what leadership means. So these are what we would say are our leadership principles, and they're the core of leadership. They're not every single thing that you should be doing in order to be a leader, but they're really at the core of what leadership is. And if you look at them, they're pretty simple statements. In some ways, they're very intuitive, but they're not exactly easy things to do. And we also believe that at all levels in the organization, you can be a leader, and leadership applies to everyone. Let's look at these different principles. The first, and one thing if you want to say about these, what I love about them, is they're not abstract nouns or adjectives. They're actual actions. These are things that you can do in order to be a better leader. This is a recipe in order to get at that core of what leadership is. So the first principle is create clarity. And how you create clarity is you synthesize the complex. You ensure that you have shared understanding. How many times have you left a meeting or a class and you leave with a completely different understanding than the person who is sitting next to you? So it's making sure that everyone in the group has that same understanding. And then it's defining a course of action. Very often we find ourselves in ambiguous situations, especially here at Microsoft, where we're creating new things that have never been created before. And so how do we define a course of action in the face of that ambiguity? The next principle is generating energy. This is inspiring people. It's inspiring optimism, creativity, inspiring them to grow. It's also creating an environment where everyone can do their best work. And I think that this is an amazing part of generating energy. Isn't it a great thing to wake up and feel like you can go be your best today and that there's not things that are in your way and are impeding your progress? I think that's amazing, and I think it's a great part of leadership. And it's also building organizations that are stronger tomorrow than they are today. So it's looking to the future. It's getting people inspired about that future. The next principle is delivering success. This is driving innovation. It's being boundaryless and seeking solutions, and it's tenaciously pursuing the right outcome. And the last thing I'll say about these principles, what I also really like about them is I think they're really interconnected. Like if you don't have clarity, how are you going to generate energy? And you might not have clarity and get lucky and have success once, but you're not going to have sustaining success. So they're really interconnected, and you need to have all of them in order to achieve each one.
Yeah, I agree. I totally love them, and I'll chime in and say one thing. You can tell we're really informal here because we all really love like working here. So we're just gonna jump in and go off of one another. But so what I love about these is they're presented to the entire company as anybody can embody leadership, like from an individual contributor to Satya, And so this is not like, oh, these are what our executive vice presidents follow. No, this is if you're a leader in your org, y'all are in school, a leader and an influencer can look like anyone. And so that's how these are kind of manifest themselves throughout the organization.
So this is a map of who our leaders are at Microsoft. So this is looking at the business function side. So we have two slides here where we're looking at the business functions, and then next is looking at the engineering function. So real quickly, high level, we have Peggy Johnson, who does business development, Brad Smith, who does corporate external legal affairs, Kurt Del Penny, who does corporate strategy and operations, Amy Hood, who is our finance officer, Jean-Philippe Courtois, who does global sales, marketing, and operations, Kathleen Hogan, this is an important one. She's our Executive Vice President of Human Resources. So under Human Resources, we're looking at everything that relates to the people. We're looking at employee benefits, diversity and inclusion, which as we mentioned before is an important part of our cultural attributes, recruiting, onboarding, manager capability, and then learning and development. And then we have Chris Capicella, who does marketing and consumer business, Judson Althoff, who does worldwide commercial business, and Kevin Scott, who is our chief technology officer. And then here are our engineering leaders. And I love this slide. I absolutely love this slide because we do so much at this company. And sometimes figuring out where a certain area of the business is located can be difficult. And when I saw this slide, I jumped for joy. I was like, oh, this is a map of where everything is, and I love it. So Harry Shum, he's our artificial intelligence and research head. He's an EVP of that. We call that AI and R. So he's doing things like ambient computing, Bing, the bot framework, Cortana. So he's doing a lot of interesting things in robotics and machine learning as well. Scott Guthrie, he's our head of cloud and enterprise. So he's in charge of not only the cloud infrastructure, but then all of the different things that we offer as cloud services. So you have Azure, Microsoft Dynamics 365, Microsoft Intune, SQL, Microsoft Server, Visual Studio. And Terry Myerson, he's the head of the Windows and Devices Group, or WDG. So this is, I support the Devices Group, which is the devices part of WDG. And he has things like Microsoft Band. He has all of the devices and then anything that's Windows related. So he's got the Surface Hub, Surface, Microsoft Studios, Windows. And Xbox just recently got announced that it's going to be popping out under its head, Phil Spencer, and reporting directly to Satya. So Phil Spencer will be an executive vice president. And that part of Xbox that's going to report to Phil is going to do all of the games and the infrastructure for Xbox. But the actual hardware, so the making of consoles, as well as the making of the different devices, what are the controllers? I'm making the motion of controller. You can't see me though. The controllers, all of that hardware production is going to stay under Terry, but all of the game production and the software is going to go under Phil. And then we have Rajesh, who is the head of the Office Product Group, or OPG. So we have all of the Office products, Office 365, regular Office, OneNote, OneDrive, SharePoint, Skype for Business, and Yammer. And then finally, we have Jeff Weiner. He is the CEO of LinkedIn. So when Microsoft acquired LinkedIn, he retained his title of CEO. He is on the leadership team and reports up to Satya. But LinkedIn has, in general, stayed kind of its own entity within Microsoft. But as you know, LinkedIn, you have your member profile, job posting, talent solutions, advertising, and other learning solutions as well through lynda.com.
And hot off the press, I just came from LinkedIn last week. With my role, I had the opportunity to observe their onboarding, and it's really cool to see. Like, it has really stayed its own entity while capturing the best of Microsoft. Even in their onboarding, they bring up Microsoft and how the products integrate and how the cultures are really well aligned. So it's probably one of the best. So far, I haven't seen an acquisition this smooth because we haven't touched them. You know, they're running on their own. Their culture is very much so alive and well, and we're taking what's best of each to integrate, and that makes sense for the business.
So those leaders have a large responsibility to drive a company that is as broad and has as much scale as Microsoft does. So this next couple slides are just to show you a bit of the landscape of the Microsoft business and the impact that all of our jobs accrue to every day. So just a couple stats there for you to observe.
Yeah.
Lots of employees we take care of here in HR. Yeah, the company is continuing to be successful and to grow. I myself have been with the company 18 years and have watched it grow from around probably 60,000 employees when I started to now 110 plus. So it's quite a dynamic business to be a part of.
Okay. So a little bit about HR at Microsoft. So our org is about 1,500 employees, and we spread across 55 countries. So really, we're super global as an org. It's super exciting. Just in 2 weeks, we're going to have our HR Global Conference that happens every other year that brings the entire org together, and there's 2 to 3 days of programming for us to kind of learn and grow and network. 34% of our roles.
People in our roles have been in
Oh, 10
for
plus years.
for
Oh,
10
wow.
years.
I
So,
didn't even know that stat.
yeah. So that's just to say that we have a strong tenure of
Yeah, totally.
employees within HR, and so it's
For
an
sure.
expertise there, which isn't to say that we don't value the early and career talent that comes in because it brings in fresh energy,
Yeah,
new ideas, and just a different perspective that we need in this changing environment of both the company as well as we try and transform HR. Microsoft HR also has what we call centers of excellence, so 5 centers of excellence, and we'll get to this a little broader on the next slide. But they really run across all of the HR businesses internally here. And 22% of our employees are managers, so you have lots of opportunity for growth and development if you're interested in the management space.
totally. And to kind of bucket off of what Megan just said about centers of excellence. So this is kind of our HR structure at Microsoft. So you could be a part of line HR or an HR manager where you're supporting a business. And that's what I did as an intern. I supported the worldwide commercial business, which is really our sales org that supports our enterprise level customers. So that was an awesome, fascinating experience because there's a lot of technical sales, a lot of engineers working in that org. And so you could support any of those businesses at the top as an HR manager or in line HR. And then we have our centers of excellence, which are talent acquisition, D&I, talent learning and insights, which is the org that I'm in now as a learning and development consultant, and total rewards and HR services, which is kind of our HR operations COE. And the way this works is really our centers of excellence kind of design and build content and strategy for the entire company, thinking kind of at that large scope. And then we kind of put out that strategy to line HR. And the line HR, I heard one of our HR leaders say it really well. You know, they're really trying to digest and help land any major strategy to their org. So really, you know, taking what you have, repurposing it, and making sure it makes sense for the people strategy of the org. And I have done 2 roles now, one in line HR and one in COE, and I've liked both of them, so no idea what I want to do, which is a good thing. But like that's really how our HR structure is at Microsoft. Okay, cool.
And then our focus, so just to kind of piggyback off what Saloni mentioned, like at Microsoft here at HR, our people priorities is really talent that can change the world. So we go out and we really, truly try to go out to recruit the best and top talent. So that would be, you know, nice, fresh talent like you guys that are listening on in this call. And second is really evolving our culture with a growth mindset. Like Elizabeth mentioned, here at Microsoft, we don't consider ourselves people who just know it all. We're constantly trying to evolve and learn more. Also here at Microsoft in HR, we are trying to build an exceptional place to work. We want people to come to work to feel like they can be their authentic self, they can learn, they can grow, and they can truly produce the best work that they can. And also to just have transformational leadership. So really to elevate the value, accountability, and impact of leadership at Microsoft. And lastly is really to work as one, to go back to that one Microsoft, everybody kind of working as one and feeling like we're just a community. Yeah.
And just to build off of those comments as well, the people priorities aren't just priorities for HR, they are company-wide. So this is a goal across the entire company, and then we have the strategies within HR to drive those priorities.
Totally.
So HR Trax, opportunities in with us. We're really excited that you're on the call and are interested in potentially joining us here as an intern this coming summer. Our opportunities kind of range across all of those centers of excellence and line HR buckets that you saw in the slide earlier. You have the ability to come in, express what areas you're interested in, and we kind of match those to the areas of greatest business need. And so you could come in and say, this summer, I really want to learn more about compensation and benefits. and we'll work with you and understand your growth areas in that space, and then look to match you with an opportunity over the summer to give you the best experience over 12 weeks. So the journey for HR Trax, really it starts with a strong internship. This is very key for all of you on the phone. Our internship opportunity has become the main pipeline for full-time hires into HR Trax. Over the past 2 years, we have been fortunate enough to have a 100% offer to conversion rate, which is, we're all giving high fives and fist pumps here in the room. It just goes to show the experience that you have as an intern is such that you definitely will want to come back after your internship and join full time, just to continue the journey of growth and development that you have had over that 12-week experience. Then for our master's and MBA candidates that join us through the internship, if you were successful, and we have no doubt that you will be, given our track record, you would hopefully sign and come back into our rotational program. So that's a 2-year experience. Over the first year, you'll have one experience, like we mentioned. It could be either in the line or across the center. And then you will finish up that year, and it goes by really fast, but you can gain a lot from the network and the opportunities therein. And then the second year, you have a different experience. And the reason we do this is so that you have a very well-rounded insight into all that is HR. And it really gives you and sets you up for success when you're ready to be placed into the business after your second year. So the placement experience could be one that you really enjoyed during your first or second rotation. You said that HR line experience was exactly where I want to take my career, and you can go back to that. We've also seen people continue their development with their placement experience as well, and to get a third area of HR to kind of land and develop and through. And that just goes to the growth mindset opportunities that we look for in our candidates, and the willingness to kind of dig in and push and challenge yourself in the roles across the function.
And what I will say real quick about that is, it doesn't really matter, it doesn't have to be up, but what I will say, what differentiates, I think, Microsoft from other rotational programs that I looked at when I was looking as a MBA candidate was the size. Like, I had a cohort of 12, 11, and we all came back to Microsoft, and that's like an instant group of friends that I have here coming to a new city, and a really strong community of supporters. So that's what I love about, one of my favorite things about this program is really the size and having that community.
Okay. We have a video to show you next about the experience, and this was produced by HR Trax members themselves, so it'll give you a bit of a flavor of what you can expect.
You want to spend your time in an organization, one, aligned with your values, and two, is really trying to make it. I'm inspired by the question that Tasha asked on. Pause for a second and just consider a world without life. It means it speaks to the relevance and opportunity and the trust that we have in technology and empower people. Is one of the greatest companies in the world, and it deserves a world-class HR function. When you think about a great company like Microsoft, is the joint program, which makes you feel really good because you have other people along with you who are also in the same boat. They to talk to the on you. We go together, exploring the city, whether it's finding restaurants, going hiking, having events. It really adds to the amount of fun that we have when we do. We try to attract talent, bring a diverse thought, a diverse energy, diverse experience. Helps you have a great, minded, temporary income. And trying to change the world is greater than Microsoft. And that's curiosity. And it was teaching you to understand, come across things that you haven't experienced before. They experience hard. Businesses are hard, products are hard, technology challenges are hard, people issues are hard. We need people who are resilient. Have to meet these difficult challenges, learn, or see them through. But I like to say, rinse and repeat. Laugh at our next part.
And I think that video is a little choppy. Thanks, Paul, for posting the YouTube link in the chat box. And I'll make sure, if you guys haven't followed the LinkedIn page, I'll make sure to also post it on our LinkedIn page. If you just type in HR Trax Development Program on LinkedIn, you can follow our group, and I'll accept you as a member. And I'm going to be posting articles on that.
So in conclusion, we really do hire people, great, amazing people to do amazing things. And you wouldn't be on this call with us today if you weren't interested. And we are very thankful that you are, because the talent that comes through the doors of Microsoft, regardless of the result at the end of our interview process, is amazing. So best of luck to all of you, and we hope that your interest in Microsoft continues, and hopefully you will move forward with the application process with HR Trax, and we will get you screened if your resume makes it through to us. So again, if you want to work for a company that has a global reach, is inspiring, you have the freedom to work the way you want, come to work the way you want, come as you are, do what you love, is what we often say here at the company, and to have incredible impact. We truly believe that this is the company for you to continue your learning journey. So this is a slide that recruiting puts out for us to, again, and lets you know about the opportunities that we have. You get paid. These internships are quite amazing. What the company does for our interns is quite fabulous. You're set up in a finely furnished hotel with, or no, not a hotel, an apartment with a view.
Beautiful apartment downtown Seattle.
You get fed a lot through the HR Trax program. Everybody's always saying that I feed everybody really well.
Even after you graduate, you get fed.
And you have a lot of fun. The Microsoft internship program sets up a lot of events over the summer to make sure you not only experience the jobs and what Microsoft has to offer internally, but also what the city and the area has to offer, because many of you are relocating to a completely different part of the country, if not world, and you have to be able to make sure you want to live in beautiful Seattle. Honestly, it gets a bad rap for all the rain, but the summers are gorgeous. You won't be disappointed, and the rain does provide a green atmosphere for the rest of the year.
Truly, the Microsoft internship program is phenomenal. Like I love working here, but I miss being an intern. So if you have an opportunity to intern here, I highly recommend it. We have a signature event that's like a concert that's kept a secret all summer, and then they give out products at that event. There's a speaker series, so I heard like most of the C-suite speak during my internship, and that's like an incredible experience. So.
So, next steps. I know this is somewhat of a tight turnaround, and if you are interested and have not applied already, I would encourage you to apply either via a school posting. If you have a posting at your school, that's probably the primary spot you want to start. If you don't have a posting for HR Trax specifically through your school, you can apply through the Microsoft Careers webpage. And get in that way. What happens next is a recruiter will review your resume, and if you are selected for a first round interview, those interviews will happen for our non-core schools, such as yourselves, via phone screen. So we will have phone screens set up for the next couple of weeks in October. And based on the results of those phone screens, you will be invited back to Redmond campus here in Washington State for second round interviews, which you will have the opportunity to speak with 3 senior HR professionals here at Microsoft and talk to them about their experience, share yours, and you will find out shortly thereafter if you will be offered a position for the summer. Again, this is just to reiterate the dates that we have coming up. Our first round phone screens are happening through October 13th. There is a very high likelihood that we will extend those phone screen dates for an additional week, so in a week past October 13th. But we then do kind of back into our flyback days really quick here. So our first flyback day is October 19th, and then the second one will be November 2nd. So those are the 2 opportunities, should you make it to the second round, to come and meet us here, and we'll make sure you have a great time. So with that, if there are questions, we have 15 minutes left in the call. Good job, Salome and team, to answer any questions that you might have either about Microsoft, these ladies' experience in the program to date, HR in general. The floor is now yours.
And feel free to jump off of mute or type into the chat box for any questions that you might have. On anything. Sorry. That email notification. I'm actually impressed. This is the first time that happened on this call.
And if there are no questions, that's fine too. We are happy to.
We got one.
Oh, we do. Cool. I noticed that Kathleen Hogan managed an area called manager capability. So manager capability, there is a big push, and we also, in addition to manager capability, it's also internally called manager excellence, to make the management experience one that's fabulous for employees. Historically, I don't want to say traditionally, historically at Microsoft, we used to see people being promoted, and the next step for promotion was to be a manager, whether or not you were ready for that step or had the skills and expertise to be successful. So there's really a push now within the company to kind of reinvent what that manager experience looks like. Both from a capability standpoint as to, how to empower it, a lot of that leadership slide that we mentioned before. How do we empower our employees to do their best work, create clarity, make sure they're energized and able to commit their, full self in their jobs and in their roles. So it's a lot around that, and I don't know if these ladies want to chime in.
Yeah, totally. It's actually in the learning and development, the talent learning and insights org is where the manager work sits, and it specifically sits in global learning and development, which is a part of that org that I am in. There's a lot of, just like Megan said, a lot of awesome, interesting work happening on the manager side, and so it does sit under Kathleen Hogan, but in that specific org. We are doing a lot of reimagined work, and in the next couple of years, there's going to be some really interesting changes as to how much attention and love we give to our managers to train them to be the best leaders. So yeah, there's a lot of cool upcoming events, hopefully, for our managers.
Another question. What are a couple of the biggest challenges in talent learning and insights team?
Oh, it's a team of, I actually don't know how big TLNI is, but I think, scale. Creating core income in Microsoft is huge. And when you're at the Talent Learning and Insights team, you're creating programs for the entire company. And so being able to think about what is common in core for a software engineering manager, for a manager on the legal team, for a manager on the finance team, or for just training for all of the individuals in the company, and that meets their needs, but also, helps embody our culture. That scale and thinking at that 5,000-foot level, I think, is a big challenge for TLNI and continues to be. But it's a really interesting space to be in. We have learning and readiness teams in some of our business groups as well that kind of do more of the technical stuff. So also partnering with them and making sure we're being really relevant to the business is an ongoing challenge. We do it well, but we're going to continue to try to do it better.
So next question that came in is, can you please share a time when you were proud to say that you worked at Microsoft? And I have one that I will definitely share. So for me personally, it was when Satya and the leadership team took a stance about our international employees who were being impacted by the potential, not being able to enter our country or be able to work here. We are a global company, and if we, are true to our mission and our visions, we need to be inclusive. And so I think that was a proud moment that I was very excited to see our leaders step up in that realm.
Literally, yeah. Our legal team went to the borders and helped people's family members, not just employees, but people's family members, make sure they got back into the country, which I think is phenomenal.
I think for me would be just actually fairly recently, maybe 2 weeks ago. So the group that I support is CBHR, and it encompasses all of our corporate functions. And Cindy Brogy, she's our GM for our group. We had an all hands. We talked about the Give campaign, and there was a guy that came in. He's a master's student at University of Washington, and he has cerebral palsy. Sorry, I'm not saying it. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly. But he said if it wasn't for Microsoft and us giving back to his organization, he would have never had a guide dog, and he would have never been able to build this confidence and meet all these people as a result of Microsoft just giving back to his organization. And to me, that was just, I don't know, it was a tear. It was just I don't know, I just cried. It was a very heartfelt, emotional moment for me. I was kind of wow, Microsoft is truly not only a company that's, building all this cool technology, but we're truly going out to make this world a better place. And for me, that was just touching, so touching.
There was another question, and I'll get back to it. The difference between talent acquisition in the Center of Excellence, talent acquisition, and talent learning and insights teams, which is a good question because they both have the word talent in them. Talent acquisition is really our recruiting arm for HR. So it's global talent acquisition, it's global in scale, so it's bringing in both external hires as well as internal transfers to roles, and all that is on the back end of that. There's a ton of work, and imagine just the quantity of resumes that Microsoft gets on a daily basis. So it's a big part of HR. and there's a lot of work happening there. But it's really the recruiting side of talent when you think about it in that respect. On the talent learning and insights piece, it's more about helping the talent that we have here in the company be the best that they can be. So putting out, the programs and the trainings and that span every organization to make our employees the best that they can be in their roles and in their jobs. So it's a little different than on talent. All right. What do you?
The most effective way to.
Sorry.
The question, I think the next question is, what's the most effective way to be to have impact as an intern?
So I'll start generally. I personally wasn't an intern, but also generally talking about what impact is at Microsoft. So we look at impact in 3 different ways. So the first is your key accomplishments. So what have you done that's contributed to your team or your business's success? The second is, how have you leveraged the work of others? So not necessarily starting everything from scratch, but going out, talking to people, taking a process and then adapting it to your own in order to save time and you can achieve more. Then the last is, how do you contribute to other people's success? So how are you going out there, being a one Microsoft, being a good team member, and helping others achieve? And if you think about it, the way I like to tell people why it's important you get all 3 of those buckets, because you're only one person. So if you're just doing your key accomplishments, there's just so much that you can achieve on your own. But it's when you start using your network, when you start taking processes, helping others, that's where you really expand your impact and where you can do more. And as an intern, I'd say, thinking about how you can do each one of those things, capitalizing on opportunities to leverage things from others and helping others to achieve more. And then just being ready to learn. Just come with an open mind and just soak everything up. Jump in and take advantage of opportunities when they come up. I don't know if you guys have other things to add.
No, I totally agree with what Elizabeth just said. The most successful interns we have seen are the ones that, come in ready to learn, eager, use their voice, make sure, don't just think because you're an intern you don't have important things to say or opinions to provide, because we really do value that insight that you have from your perspective. And so I think that's really key there. Our internships, I think, are fairly unique in that you have, and I believe Saloni touched on it earlier, a very strong, tight-knit cohort that you come in with. We're very intentional about how we onboard our HR Trax interns and employees. You come in, and for most other programs and throughout the company and their internship opportunities, you come in, you do new intern orientation on day 1, and then day 2 or later that day, you land in your job and you go. We feel it's a little more important to kind of make sure you can hit the ground running and have a support network. So our internships start with new intern orientation just like everybody else, but we keep you for a week. And in that week, we really ground you in what the key things you need to know about Microsoft as a whole are, and then HR. So you really have the tools and resources and understanding of each other's works and projects and how it accrues to the larger people priorities to hit the ground running after that first week. And it really is a great opportunity to just absorb as much as you can from your peers and other members of Trax that we bring in and the leaders that we put you in front of that first week, to then take that to your jobs, and you'll start formulating questions and you'll start already making connections between things. So that's something that's unique about Trax. Totally. All right. Any other questions? Does diversity and inclusion center actually do separately to implement DNI practices? Yes, the diversity and inclusion does work very closely with the other centers of excellence for sure. Talent acquisition, they actually have teams dedicated like to diversity sourcing, and for one example. Um, and we really do like have specific insight teams that focus primarily on diversity at the company as well. But that does sit within the Diversity and Inclusion Center of Excellence specifically.
And I think as an HR manager, you have a partner that's assigned to you to work with. So I have a partner from diversity and inclusion that I work with. So if I have questions or I want to push an initiative or we want to get something going within the business, I'll reach out to that partner for her expertise to how do we get that going? What's the research we need to do? The other thing we do with that partner is each one of the businesses has a diversity and inclusion plan. And that partner helps us implement that plan within the business. So we have one across all of WDG, and then we've taken that one from WDG a click down for my specific area devices, and how are we going to help implement that plan? What are the different things we're going to focus on? And our partner helps us do that, and she helps making sure that we're staying to timelines, that we're thinking about it, but then she also helps us enables us to land it in the business, and she'll come and she'll do presentations, and she'll bring things from outside that we don't necessarily have the time to be researching all the time. So it's a great partnership that you have with your line partner.
And diversity and inclusion at the company, really think about it in beyond just race and ethnic background. It's your whole self. It's how you come to work. We have a great program that was put in place a couple years back called Dialogue Across Differences, which really makes the conversations around all the different aspects of being a diverse organization to life. So they're doing a lot of like kind of innovative and groundbreaking work to get people thinking in different ways and in more diverse ways and being more inclusive across.
Awesome. So we're going to wrap up right on time. Oh, is there another question?
No.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Can students graduate in May apply for this internship? Unfortunately, if you're graduating in May of 2018, our assumption would be that you're looking for full-time employment. Now, if your graduation dates slip in that sort of thing, we could consider you, but really our internship is for first-year master's or MBA students who are then going to go back to school, finish their degree, and then come potentially back as a full-time employee.
Awesome.
If you have other questions, please reach out to us on LinkedIn. We'll be happy to answer those for you. Thank you for joining. We were certainly impressed and honored at the show of people that turned out for this call, and we hope to keep the conversation going.
Thank you. And like Megan said, follow us on LinkedIn at the HR Trax Development Program, I think is the group's name. So if you have any other questions, thanks.
Bye,
Thank
guys.
you.
Have a good day.
Have a good day.